Okay. Hi everyone, so welcome here this time with Zoe.
Hi everyone!
So can you first introduce yourself?
Of course, I'm Zoe. I also have a YouTube channel called Professional Wild Child, in which I make content for the mind, body and soul, and I take people with me sometimes with vlogs, travel vlogs, lifestyle vlogs. And I have a Dutch platform called Moderne Hippies, which stands for Living a Free, Adventurous and Conscious Life. We have a website. It's run by a collective. There's a lot of people writing for it, and we also organize events, for now only in the Netherlands.
Okay, so I have some questions for you. So let's get started. Who has influenced you the most?
Yeah, I thought about that, and I think for like how I'm currently living my life in the last 10 years and living quite a wild and free and adventurous life, the person that inspired me the most was Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh yeah.
Do you know her?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've read that book.
Yeah? Which book did you
Eat, Pray, Love,
Yeah.
and the one about creativity.
Yeah, that's also a very nice one. Yeah, I think I was 17 when I read Eat, Pray, Love, when it was just published, before the whole hype of the movie and everything. Although I was so much younger and I didn't travel so much yet, I mean, I wasn't married or with a partner or anything. She was, of course, writing about completely different topics than what I was in that moment. I could totally like resonate with her mindset and her lifestyle and her choices, and mostly was just really inspired and once again resonated with how she really listened to her heart and her gut feeling of what feels right and what doesn't feel right. I was always the feeling kind of person, but she just really like confirmed it for me that that is okay, and that's sort of like the way, your way is the way for me.
Yeah. What do you do to keep your energy levels high throughout the day and keep feeling awesome?
Well, I think that's a very good question, but I think it's just impossible. I think we all have this tendency to want to be on a high level energy throughout the day or want to be happy all day, and I think life is just going in ups and downs and in waves all the time. And for me, the most important thing to feel like properly high in my energy is actually also to give in when I'm low in my energy, and also be able to. So for me, it's just healthier when I go to bed a bit later, because I'm quite a night owl, and then being able to sleep until 8 or 9 is for me just nicer. But also to be able to do a little nap when you're just really tired really creates that you can have an energy boost after and actually have a more productive day than actually just trying to be high in energy and taking in coffee all the time, which is just a fake form of like being high. Being high all the time. For me, it's just really giving into this low energy, being able to, which I think as soon as you start working and you have a 9-to-5 job, is just really difficult to do. People just expect you to be on between 9 and 5, and I just really don't believe in that.
Like you said, it's not better to be like early bird or night owl.
Yeah.
It's just like learning
how
yourself,
you move,
how you function, and
exactly.
make the most of it. How do you want to be remembered, and what legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah. I don't necessarily know if I really want to be remembered in like sort of the legacy kind of way as pop stardom or whatever. I don't care so much about that, and I think that also is a lot of ego talk. But for what I want to do now in the world, no matter what it does later, what gives me a lot of energy and a lot of purpose, or has been already with both my website and my YouTube channel, is that the content that I make creates that people actually come closer to themselves and actually make decisions that maybe are a bit off in society, or even for their parents, or you know, it could be like a little bit of a thing that's not so normal in our normal, and then people really make sort of a radical decision, like, but this is who I am, and this is who I want to be, and this is how I want to live, and these are my values in a way. That really gives me a lot of energy, like that people just do what they want to do, that they are themselves. I think that just is one of my main purposes to keep spreading. I really love that, and I think that's Because people, if people are kind to themselves and are close to themselves, I only think that that will create a better world and a more beautiful world.
Exactly. It's for me, one of the most important questions, because what do you want to live when you die? It's like it helps you to really find this inner purpose in life. And
although purpose also pressures a lot of people again, because a lot of people have like, what the hell is purpose? What is my purpose? I also, again, with Elizabeth Gilbert, she has a very good podcast.
Oh, I didn't know.
Or it's not her podcast, it's from the Oprah Soul Sessions.
Oh, okay.
It's called Follow Your Curiosity instead of Your Passion, which is way more like just following like the path again, and just like what are you interested in, and just in a natural, organic way, just following what you're meant to do in a way, which also, if you follow that, will always grow.
It reminds me like a TED talk I saw. It was about like why you should not use your passion as a job or something like that. So it's interesting that she chose curiosity over her passion.
Exactly, because she was always sort of like the advocate for following your passion, and a lot of people were like, but I don't know what my passion is. What would your legacy be? What would you want?
Oh. It's funny because when I think about it, I think about like material way. I don't care having things anymore, but like how I can impact each single day people. That's when I die, they still have something like a kind act out of me, because
and then it also again comes down to that material things are only external, and it all comes down to just what we have internally.
Exactly. What do you do to challenge your underlying beliefs, paradigms, and assumptions?
I can make a whole video about that, I think. But what I mostly try to do on a day-to-day basis is to surround myself with people that can mirror me and that can really see me. Our eyes are always outwards, and so are our minds. Like, we always just look externally. Again, it's of great help that we have a lot of people around us that can really see us and can really tell you how you behave, what you do. So my partner is great in that, can also be very confronting. That is one of the best ways to get rid of limiting beliefs and everything around it. Traveling has enabled me in the past to really step out of my norm, step out of my comfort zone, and step out of my little bubble of how I was raised and where I was raised and what kind of society I lived in, and it really enabled me to just see completely different worlds and completely different belief systems. So I would really encourage younger people to always go and travel like you are doing right now. I think it's really maybe a bit too cliche. You can also do it in a sustainable way, but for your mind, it's one of the best ways to grow. Next to that, I would say always reading and listening to podcasts these days. There's so many nice self-help kind of podcasts that also always just open your mind, and like I love the one from Jay Shetty, for example. The Four Agreements is one of my favorite books of all time.
It was my first one.
Really? Oh, it's really hard to implement on a day-to-day basis, all the things.
It takes time.
And especially like to not make assumptions with our loved ones, for example. You always make assumptions. So it's, of course, it's therefore a bit more like a Bible. It's a way of living that I would like to live and live up to, but it's really hard to do. But it keeps on being a good reminder to read these kinds of books, I think. I would also say somehow still a taboo for in certain countries, I would say, but therapy. You can also do creative therapy, right? So I also, for my website, got to experience so many like fun ways of creative therapy, like Reiki sessions, hand readers, healers, and astrologists. And I mean, that can be a bit too spiritual for some maybe, but they just, like, they were always so down to earth, and they never told me like what my future would look like. They were mostly just telling me how I work, who I am. And that really makes sense. Like, when you listen to it, I also did it with somebody else who I knew really well, and it was a completely different analysis, and it was just completely on point for the both of us. So all these things is just like seeing yourself better by somebody else telling you who you are. I think that's one of the best ways to also get rid of limiting beliefs. One of the most sacred questions that we don't really ask ourselves is, who am I? It's one of the most beautiful questions to ask, and it's a lifelong journey to answer.
And I think if you go really deep into this question and you ask why, each time, why do I do that, why, one single question can really become a life-changing view of experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, just keep an open mind.
Last question. So, if there was just one line you could say to help and inspire people the world over, what would you say?
One line. I would say, follow your gut, follow your intuition. Yeah, like we said earlier, if you do that, everything falls into place. I think for both yourself and the rest of the world, if everybody would do that more, we would all be way more in peace with each other, more understanding towards each other, I think, I hope. And then, as a little ending, keep letting love rule.
In order to be learning about yourself, it's really so important to take care. Work out with nutrition, of course, what you eat, you are what you eat, healthy lifestyle. I know that it was the beginning of my life-changing journey for me, because I've decided to take care of my body because I respect myself. Everything like changed.
Also, that all began with learning to respect yourself first, and then the rest followed.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you.
Have a great day, great evening, I don't know, and bye.
Ciao.